Now 77.
When he possesses such view, his directing of the mind onto nirvana, which directing is associated with that right view, abolishes wrong thinking, and that is right thinking.
Yeah, right thinking here means, again, a mental state that arises at the moment of enlightenment. Since it is right thinking, it abolishes wrong thinking. Wrong thinking means thinking to harm to kill others, to harm others, and so on. And there is one word that is very important. You can read it again.
When he possesses such view, his directing of the mind onto nirvana.
Right, direction of the mind on Nibbana. Okay. Now, this factor, right thinking or right thought, as it is translated in English, is actually misleading. Because when it is called right thought, you must be thinking something like that, right? But here, right thought means not thinking. At the moment of enlightenment, there is no thinking. No thinking as we ordinarily think. There is the activity of mind, but it is not thinking about this thing or that thing. So the right thought here means a mental factor that directs the mind, or that takes the mind to the object and put it on the object.
Mental factor that directs.
Directing the mind to the object, right? Actually, not just directing. Directing means you may show someone to go to some place, right? Say you may point your finger and say go to that building, and you may not take him there. But here, directing means not just giving directions, but taking the mind and putting it on the object. So this mental factor is an important factor. If it does not take the mind and put it on the object, how can mind take the object? Suppose I am visiting this city, right? I don't know where to go. Then somebody takes me and put me in a place where I want to go. Without him, I cannot go there, and I will not experience that place, right? So in the same way, this mental factor takes the mind and put it on the object, here Nibbana. So when mind is put on the object, then mind can experience that object. So that mental factor that takes the mind and put it on the object is what is called right thought here. Not just thinking. Okay. So if it does not put the mind on the object, mind cannot be on the object, and so mind cannot know the object, right? So it is beneficial to right view. Right view can understand or see Nibbana only when the mind is put on the object. So that is why these two are grouped together, and they are called a group of wisdom. The 8 factors will be grouped into 3 later on. In the next hour, I'll explain it to you. So there will be 3 groups. These 8 will be divided into 3 groups. So the first group consists of these first 2, the right view and right thought. And right thought is grouped together with right view as the group of wisdom because it is beneficial to wisdom. That means if it does not take the object and put it on the, if it does not take the consciousness and put it on the object, there can be no understanding, there can be no right view. So these two are grouped together as belonging to the group of wisdom. Okay. So now you got the first two. What is number one? Right view, and number two? Right thinking, right thought. Now number three is right speech. And right speech actually means abstention from wrong speech. Abstention from wrong speech. Now when you say, I take the precept of abstention from wrong speech, there is this factor, samma vaca, right speech. So right speech really means abstention from wrong speech. And you know the wrong speech? How many wrong speeches are there? Yeah. One more.
Lying, slandering.
Yes. Harsh speech and idle talk. Yeah. These are called wrong speech. So abstention from wrong speech is called right speech. Then the next one.
Right action.
Right action means abstention from wrong action. There are 3 wrong actions mentioned in the books. And what are these 3? No, you will not find in the book.
Killing,
Hey.
stealing, and sexual misconduct.
Right. So abstention from these 3 things is called, in Pali, samakamanta, right action. And then the third one, right livelihood. Right livelihood is abstention from wrong livelihood. Now there are some traits that are said to be wrong, like selling weapons, selling poisons, selling liquor, and so on. So they are called wrong livelihood. So abstention from wrong livelihood is called right livelihood. And for monks, right livelihood means acquiring requisites by lawful means. That means monks are not to tell fortune, monks are not to give medicine, to act like doctors and so on, to get donations from people. So they must go out for alms, picking up their bowls and go out for alms and so on. So this the third one, right livelihood, means abstention from wrong livelihood. And also there is one thing you need to understand regarding these 3. The first one is abstention from wrong speech. The second one is abstention from wrong action. And the third one is abstention from wrong livelihood. Now there is another meaning to them. If you abstain from wrong speech, just abstain from wrong speech, then there is right speech in your mind, this factor. But suppose your livelihood is telling lies. Let us say you tell lies to earn a living. So your way of livelihood is telling lies. And then you abstain from telling lies. Then what will happen? What will arise? The first one or the third one? If you abstain from lying ordinarily, lying that is not your livelihood, then you are having right speech. But if you abstain from lying, which is your livelihood, then you are having right livelihood. So there is this difference. Suppose a fisherman, right? So his livelihood is killing fish. So if he abstains from killing fish, he gets not right action but right livelihood, because it is his livelihood, and he abstains from his livelihood, which is in his case killing. But sometimes a person goes for fishing for fun, and then somebody tells him that it is not good to do, and then he abstains from killing. Then he gets right action. So right speech and right action are abstentions from the wrong action and wrong speech. That is not one's livelihood. But if these are his livelihood and he abstains from them, then he gets the right livelihood and not the first two. So that is also important. So although the name is right speech, right action, and right livelihood, the real meaning to understand is abstention. That is why they are grouped as Sila group. These three are grouped as Sila. Then we come to the next group. What is the next? After right livelihood, there is 81. Right effort. Right effort means making effort. Right effort cuts off laziness. Right? You may find that in 81. Right. 81.
When he is established on the plane of virtue called right speech, right action, right livelihood, his energy, which is conformity and associated with that right being cuts of idleness, that is called right effort.
Yes. So actually the making effort is called right effort. So making effort means here getting rid of laziness, getting rid of idleness, and making effort for the abandoning of akusala already arisen, and also for not doing akusala that has not yet arisen, and making effort to do kusala that you have not practiced before, and also making effort for the development of the kusala that you have done. So there are 4 aspects of right effort. Now 2 regarding akusala and 2 regarding kusala.
So what was the first 2 again? I'm sorry, what was the first 2 for the akusala?
Now akusala, let us say akusala. You have done some akusala, and then you try to get rid of that akusala that has already arisen in you. So that is one kind of effort. And another effort is to refrain from doing kusala that you have not done before. Let us say all akusala and new akusala, right? To get rid of all akusala, one effort, and not to do new akusala, that is another kind of effort. Similarly with kusala, to do kusala that you have not done before, and to do again and again the kusala you have done before. So trying in that way, making effort in that way is called right effort. And after right effort, there is right mindfulness. Now you know right mindfulness very well, don't you? You practice mindfulness before? Very good. Yes. So mindfulness means what? You know what mindfulness is? To be mindful. To be fully aware. To be fully aware of the object is what we call mindfulness. So in order to be mindful, you make notes, right? When you see something, you say seeing, seeing, seeing. And when the abdomen is rising, you say rising, rising. And when it falls, falling, falling, right? So that means you are trying to be mindful. You are trying to be mindful of the rising and falling of the abdomen. You are trying to be mindful of the seeing, hearing, and so on. So to be mindful means to be fully aware of the object, not superficial awareness. It must be a deep awareness. And it is also called not losing the object. When you have good sati, you do not lose the object. If you have no good sati, you lose the object, and that is why you forget. Sometimes we forget many things. When we forget, that thing is not in our mind. We have lost it, right? So sati is opposite of that. When there is sati, you do not lose the object. The object is with you. So sati is one of the 8 factors. And then the last one is called right concentration. So concentration means mind having one object. Mind not going to different objects, but mind being on one object. So that is what we call right concentration here. So now we get the last 3. The first one is what?
Making right effort.
Right effort. Second one? Right mindfulness. And the third one? Right concentration. These 3 are grouped as concentration group. In the beginning, you wrote down the 8 factors. Now you can make marks there. 1 and 2, what? Wisdom.
Is wisdom.
Yeah. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. Sila. And 6, 7, 8. Concentration group. So in this group, what is prominent is concentration. But concentration cannot arise if there is no mindfulness. Now you must make note of it. Now when you practice with meditation, you need to get concentration. In order to get concentration, you must have mindfulness. If you are not mindful, if you do not practice mindfulness, you cannot get concentration. And in order to be mindful, you have to make effort. If you do not make effort, you cannot be mindful. So in order to be mindful, you say seeing, 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 hearing, hearing, rising, falling, and so on. So you have to make effort to be mindful, and only when you are mindful can you get concentration. So this group has concentration as the prominent factor, but the other two are also included in this group. Not that they are concentration, but they help the concentration. So these two help concentration. That means you have to practice effort and mindfulness to get concentration. So these three are grouped as concentration group. So let us go back to the eight factors. There are 8 factors, and the first factor is right view, and second, right thought, and right thinking, and the third, right speech, fourth, right action, fifth, right livelihood, sixth, right effort, seventh, right mindfulness, and eighth, right concentration. And then the groupings. Number 1 and 2.
1 and 2 makes group of
Wisdom.
And number 3, 4, and 5 makes sila group.
Yes.
And 6, 7, 8 makes concentration.
Good. Can you tell me without looking at your notes?
1 and 2 makes the wisdom group.
Yes.
3, 4, and 5 makes the sila group.
You're good.
And 6, 7, and 8 makes the concentration.
Concentration group, right? Okay. Now, although the order given here begins with right view, right? When you practice, you begin with 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, and then, I'm sorry. 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, and then 1, 2, like that. Because you begin with sila, and then through sila, and you practice samadhi, and then you reach panya. So the order of practice is to begin with right speech and so on. Now that is why when you practice meditation, it is important that your sila is pure. If you do not have purity of sila, you cannot hope to get concentration. Because if your sila is not pure, you have self-blame. Say you blame yourself. Oh, my sila is not pure. I have done this wrong thing and that wrong thing and so on. And so thinking about that is called remorse. So that remorseful thinking can interfere with your practice. Now when you practice meditation, you want to be very, very pure. You want to keep your mind very pure. And it is the time when these thoughts come to you, interfere with your meditation. So you cannot meditate well, and so you cannot get concentration. So it is important that you first practice purity of sila. The middle three. Right speech, right action, right livelihood. Now, how do you achieve purity of sila? What must you do to get purity of sila?
Practice.
Huh?
To avoid wrong speech.
Okay, you take precepts, right? Panadipata, Viramani, Sikkhapadang, Samadhiyami, and so on. So you take the precepts and you keep them, then your moral conduct or sila is pure. So to purify your sila, before you practice meditation, you take precepts. And after taking precepts, you can be sure that your sila is pure. You don't have to worry about impurity of sila in the past. But right at this moment, your sila needs to be really pure. So in order to beautify your sila right at this moment, what must you do? Take precepts and keep them. So that is one important thing or preliminary action you have to do before you practice meditation. After you are sure that your sila is pure, you can begin with your practice of meditation. You can begin with the practice of mindfulness. So you make effort and so on. So these 8 are grouped into 3: sila, samadhi, and panya. Now, why are there 3 steps instead of just 1? Why are there 3? Why are the path to enlightenment described on these 3 steps? Why are there 3 steps? Huh?
Not sure.
You're not sure. Okay. Now, in order to attack the 3 levels of mental defilements, these 3 steps are given by the Buddha. Let us say we are fighting a battle, right? There are 3 kinds of enemies. So Buddha gave us the weapons that we can attack, that we can kill these 3 kinds of enemies. They are different kinds of enemies. So now we have mental defilements. You have mental defilements, I have mental defilements. There are 3 levels of mental defilements. Let us say the first level is called the latent level, sleeping level we may call it. That means they lie latent in our minds. They do not come up yet, but they lie sleeping, let us say sleeping in our minds. That is one level. And the next level is, now they come up, they arise in our minds. So arising level. And then after they come up, we may act upon them. Suppose I am angry, and through anger I will attack somebody, I will even kill somebody. So that means I reach the stage of transgression. So there are 3 levels: latent level, arising level, and transgression level. Latent level we all have, because we are liable to get angry, we are liable to be attached to things and so on. In order to attack, in order to deal with the transgression level, Buddha gave us sila. Suppose there is an occasion for you to kill a living being. But you have taken the precepts. So you abstain from killing the living being. So killing means transgression. So that transgression level mental defilement you are able to prevent by sila. So long as you have taken the precepts and you keep them, you will not come to transgression. You can prevent transgression. You may not kill, you will not steal, you will not practice sexual misconduct, and so on. So in order to deal with that transgression level, Buddha gave us sila. So long as you have taken the precepts and keep them, you can prevent that transgression level mental defilements. You understand? But that is not enough for us to reach enlightenment. In order to reach enlightenment, we have to clean our minds of the mental defilements. So suppose we have sila, and so we do not kill, we do not steal. But although we do not kill, we do not steal, in our minds, sometimes we may have desire to kill, or I will get angry, or I will want to possess other people's property, and so on. So in order to avoid such mental defilements from arising in our minds, Buddha gave us the samadhi level. When you practice meditation, how can these mental defilements arise in your mind? You are making notes as rising, falling, or seeing, hearing, touching, sitting, and so on. So when you're making these notes, how can these mental defilements arise in your mind? There is no chance for them to arise. So by practicing vipassana, by practicing samadhi, by practicing meditation, you are keeping them, these mental defilements, a little distance away from you. You are preventing them from arising in your mind. You are preventing them from coming up to the surface of your mind. So that you can do only with meditation or samadhi. So in order to deal with the second level of mental defilement, the arising level, Buddha gave us the samadhi practice. So with samadhi, let us say now we are able to keep them from arising. But still we have liability to anger and so on. Because when there are conditions, they will come up again. Although when we are practicing meditation, they do not come up. And after meditation, when there are conditions for them to arise, then they will arise, because we have not eradicated these mental defilements altogether. We still have the liability to get angry, to get attached to things. So in order to deal with that deepest level of mental defilements, Buddha gave us panya, wisdom. Only by wisdom can the mental defilements, or can the latent level of mental defilements be eradicated. Now you go back to 76. What do you find there? Ignorance. Latent ignorance or something. The eye of wisdom.
His eye of understanding with Nibbana as its object eliminates the inherent tendency to be
Right. Inherent what?
Inherent tendency to ignorance.
Yeah. So that inherent tendency means that deepest level. So that means, although it is not arising now, it is lying deep in our mind, ready to come up whenever there is the condition for them. It is like fire in the match, a box of matches. Now, there is actually no fire in the box of matches, right? If there is fire, it will be burning now. But it has the potential to burn. And then you strike the stick there, and then there is fire, right? So we may say that the matchbox has the potential to burn, but it is not burning now. So the condition is striking. So you strike a match, and then there is fire. So in the same way, although they are not present in our minds, we have this liability to get angry and so on. We have this inherent tendency of ignorance, attachment, anger, and so on. So in order to attack that deepest level, we have to practice vipassana. We have to practice panya. So only panya can eradicate that deepest level of mental defilements. That is why these 3 steps are taught by the Buddha. So in order to attack the 3 levels of mental defilements, Buddha gave us these 3 levels of practice. And these 3 levels are Sila level, Samadhi level, and Panya level. Now, the 8 factors mentioned here, 8 factors mentioned as the 4th noble truth, arise at the moment of Magga consciousness. That means at the moment of enlightenment. But what about moments before enlightenment? Now we all want to get enlightenment, and we practice. So when we are practicing, what about these 8? Are we practicing these 8 factors or not? Here, right, in this explanation, these 8 factors are called the 4th noble truth, and these 8 factors are those that arise with Magga consciousness. Magga consciousness is actually a fruit of vipassana meditation. Although it is not called a resultant consciousness, it is actually the fruit of vipassana meditation. So these 8 factors here are the fruit. But how, in order to get that fruit, we must do something, right? In order to get the fruit, you must grow a tree and so on. So when we are practicing vipassana meditation, are we following the 4th noble truth? Are we following the noble eightfold path or not? No, I am not asking whether you try to or not. Are you practicing the noble eightfold path when you are practicing vipassana meditation? Now you have to understand that there are 2 kinds of the eightfold path. The real eightfold path at the moment of enlightenment, and preliminary eightfold path preceding the real eightfold path. So two kinds of eightfold path. The real eightfold path that arises at the moment of enlightenment or Magga. And then the preliminary eightfold path that leads to the Magga consciousness, that leads to the moment of enlightenment. So what we practice when we practice vipassana meditation is that preliminary eightfold path. not the real Eightfold Path. Actually, the real Eightfold Path is the outcome or the fruit of the preliminary Eightfold Path. Now you must understand this clearly. Otherwise, it would not make sense, because the 8 factors mentioned here are the outcome of the practice. So somebody may say, we are not practicing Noble Eightfold Path when we are practicing Vipassana, because Noble Eightfold Path is available only at the moment of enlightenment. So what we practice when we practice Vipassana meditation is called what? Preliminary Eightfold Path. That preliminary Eightfold Path we practice, or we must practice. Now, when you practice Vipassana meditation, can you see these factors working? So when you take the precepts, you are practicing the 3 middle ones, right? The right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Suppose you take precepts and now you sit down and you practice meditation. So when you practice meditation, you try to be mindful, right? And in order to be mindful, you have to make effort. If you do not make effort, you cannot be mindful. So that effort is what? The right effort here. And then you practice mindfulness and say rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling, sitting, touching, and so on. So your mind goes to the object and hit the object whenever there is an object. So that hitting the object is mindfulness. So your mindfulness hit this object, your mindfulness hits that object, and so on. So mindfulness is also involved in your practice. And then when your mindfulness becomes stronger, your mind, as it were, goes into the object, or your mind, as it were, sticks to the object. And that is what we call samadhi, concentration. So with the help of mindfulness, your mind becomes concentrated. Your mind can stay on one object only. And when your mind becomes concentrated, you begin to see things clearly. Now, our mind ordinarily is like a muddy water. So you put the muddy water in the glass, and you cannot see what is in the water because it is muddy. Then you put it there, and then the particles of mud settle down, and then it becomes clear. So when it becomes clear, you see what are there, right? So in the same way, there are what are called mental hindrances in our minds: sensual desire, ill will, sleepiness, worry, anxiety, doubt, and so on. So long as these mental hindrances are in our minds, we cannot see things clearly. By the practice of right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, these mental hindrances are subdued, or they settle down. So when they are subdued, mind becomes clear. So when mind becomes clear, you see things clearly. Now you see objects very clearly, very vividly, as though you are seeing the real thing with your eyes open. And when you see things clearly, you also see what they are, what this thing is. If you do not see a thing clearly, you do not know what this is. But now you see it clearly, and so you see this, what it is, and also you see the details of this object also. And then you also see that this object just arises and disappears. It does not last for a long time. So whatever object you take, first you see it clearly, because now your mind is free from mental hindrances. You see it clearly, and then you see what it is. And you also see that it arises and disappears. So when you see that object arise and disappear, you know this is impermanent. When you know this is impermanent, you know that this is dukkha, because whatever is impermanent is dukkha according to the Buddha. And this dukkha you cannot turn into sukha or happiness. It comes and goes by itself, and so there is no control over it, and so you see the anatta nature of things through vipassana. So when you practice vipassana, these factors are working actively in your mind. Right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, and right understanding. And right understanding can come only when there is right thought. Right thought means the mental factor that puts the mind on the object. So, at every moment of good meditation, these 5 factors are working actively. 5 means right effort, right concentration, right mindfulness, right concentration, right thought, right view, right thought. Now the other 3 that belong to sila are not actively participating, but they are already accomplished. When you take the precepts, you take them with the intention of keeping them, right? You have no intention of breaking them when you take them. So after you take the precepts, then they are already accomplished. They will no longer be working actively because they are already accomplished. But the other 5 are acting, participating actively. And so these 5 are called worker factors or working factors. These 5 must always be present in your mind when you practice vipassana meditation. So in the beginning, right view may not come yet, right? Before you see the thing clearly, how can you know that it is impermanent and so on, right? So in the beginning, before you get good concentration, that right view may not be present. But there are other kinds of right view also. That is the understanding of the law of karma, understanding that there is karma and there is the result of karma, and that is also called right view. And understanding the objects as anicca, dukkha, and anatta is also called right view. So right view, there are many kinds of right view. The understanding of karma and result, understanding of the 3 characteristics, and then right view at the moment of path consciousness, right view at the moment of fruition consciousness, and so on. So the real right view may not be present in the beginning stages of vipassana. That is, before you get concentration and before you see the objects clearly. Then from the moment you are able to subdue the mental hindrances and your mind becomes clear and concentrated, you will begin to see the objects clearly and so on. And from that moment, the factor of right view will come into your mind. So when you practice vipassana meditation, you are following or you are practicing the 4th noble truth, the noble truth of the path that goes to the cessation of suffering. So what one must do in order to follow the fourth noble truth?
You must follow the Eightfold.
Yeah. So in order to follow the Eightfold Path, what must you do?
You must have right view, right thinking, right centering.
So, in order to have the right effort and so on, what do you do? Right, you have to practice, right? Then there are two kinds of practices, samatha meditation and vipassana meditation. So which one do you prefer? Which one do you want to practice? Vipassana or samatha? Vipassana. Now, samatha meditation leads to strong concentration, and it can lead you to attaining jhanas, and if you are really gifted, you may attain abhinyas and supernormal knowledges. But samatha by itself cannot lead you to understanding the three characteristics, cannot lead you to understanding the nama and rupa clearly. So if your aim is to get free from this samsara, if your aim is for the total purification of your mind, you need to practice vipassana meditation. Without vipassana meditation, total purification of mind cannot be achieved. I am not saying that you are not to practice samatha at all. If you want to, you may practice samatha meditation, but do not be satisfied with just the practice of samatha meditation, even though you may get psychic powers and so on, because they will not lead you to penetrating into the nature of things. They will not lead you to understanding nama and rupa and so on. So Buddha's aim is to all of us to reach Nibbana. Buddha's aim is all of us to achieve total purification of mind. Since Buddha's aim is total purification of mind, we should practice vipassana meditation. We may skip samatha meditation, but we cannot skip vipassana. That means we may not practice samatha meditation, but we must definitely practice vipassana meditation. So vipassana meditation is very important, and when we practice vipassana meditation, we are really following the Buddha's advice, or we are really practicing the fourth noble truth, that is the noble truth that leads to the noble truth of the way that leads to the cessation of suffering. In the Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha said this is the only way. This is the only way for the purification of beings. This is the only way means this middle way, this noble eightfold path, or this practice of mindfulness. So this is the most important practice for us, and so long as we practice mindfulness meditation, we are prolonging the Buddha's sasana. We are extending the life of Buddha's sasana. Once Buddha was asked, after his death, what will cause his sasana to endure long, and what will cause his sasana to endure for a short time? And Buddha said, so long as there are people who practice mindfulness meditation, the sasana will be prolonged. So by practicing vipassana meditation, by practicing mindfulness meditation, we are prolonging, or we are making the Buddha Sasana live longer. Right? At the same time, we are trying to get rid of mental defilements. So we are doing a good service to the Buddha's dispensation when we practice Vipassana meditation. And we are honoring him with the best of honor we can do, and with the honor that he, Buddha, likes us to do. Buddha said, honoring him with 4 requisites is not as good as honoring him with practicing his teachings. So that we must keep in mind, and we try to honor the Buddha as best we can by the practice of mindfulness meditation, by practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. So these 4 are called the 4 Noble Truths. They are called noble because they are discovered by, or penetrated by, or understood by, and revealed by the noblest of the nobles, that is the Buddha. So first we must understand the 4 Noble Truths in theory, like you do now. And then we must understand the 4 Noble Truths with reference to our practice, or through our practice. So when you practice Vipassana meditation, you will come to see the 4 Noble Truths. Now you will see the Noble Truth of suffering, and you will see the Noble Truth of the origin of suffering. And although you will not see yet the Noble Truth of cessation of suffering, but at the end, when you gain enlightenment, you will see the 3rd Noble Truth. And the 4th Noble Truth, you are practicing the preliminary the 4th Noble Truth when you are practicing Vipassana meditation. And when you reach the stage of enlightenment, then you have done, you have practiced, you have developed the Noble Eightfold Path. So these are the 4 Noble Truths taught by the Buddha in the first sermon. In the very first sermon he gave to his 5 disciples. Okay, we'll have a break. Yavila. You all right? Now, when Buddha taught 4 Noble Truths, it took him about a few minutes. But now, we have been studying the 4 Noble Truths for how many hours? 3, 4, 5 hours. Huh? Yeah. Actually, Buddha must have explained in detail than is recorded now in the first sermon. So I think only the gist of what Buddha taught was recorded in the first sermon, because they might have asked Buddha questions, and Buddha must have explained to them and how to practice and so on. So the doctrine of, or the teachings of the 4 Noble Truths is very important in Buddhism, and it is said that whatever Buddha taught can be included in the 4 Noble Truths. Because now the first Noble Truth comprises almost everything in the world except just Tanha, right? So Tanha is second Noble Truth, and the rest of the world is the first Noble Truth actually. And then the 3rd Noble Truth is out of this world, the cessation of suffering, or Nibbana. And the 4th Noble Truth again is in the world, right? The 4th Noble Truth is a group of 8 factors, and these 8 factors are the mental factors, or Cetasikas. so they belong to mind. So whatever Buddha taught cannot go out of these Four Noble Truths. We can include any kind of teaching in the Four Noble Truths. And so the understanding of the Four Noble Truths is very important.